The Office of Research and Planning, in conjunction with Multimedia Services, is proud to present Building Evaluation Capacity, a framework for collecting, analyzing, and using data in program review at Cerritos College. This is an enhanced podcast produced by the Office of Research and Planning and Multimedia Services. The content for this podcast is by Nathan Durdella, Director of Research and Planning at Cerritos College, Carolyn Sheldon, Dean of Institutional Research at Santa Monica College, and Young Kim, Research Analyst at Cerritos College. Technical and audio production for this podcast is by Michael Wisniewski, Multimedia Production Specialist at Cerritos College, and David Gunn, Instructional Media Production Specialist at Cerritos College. This podcast has been produced at Cerritos College in Norwalk, California, and is copyrighted by Cerritos College, and by Nathan Durdella, Carolyn Sheldon, and Young Kim. As we begin this presentation, we ask a seemingly rhetorical but important question. Who will benefit from the information presented here? We respond to the question by identifying stakeholders in units, programs, divisions, and areas across the college, and argue that these stakeholders will all benefit. Department chairs, program faculty, program staff, office or unit managers, executive administrators, members of the Faculty Senate Committee on Instructional Program Review, stakeholders in the program review process, like staff in the Office of Research and Planning, and simply put, anyone with an interest in program improvement. Now that you can see that this presentation has broad appeal to stakeholders and constituency groups across campus, what do we hope to accomplish here? Our goals for this presentation are threefold. First, we hope to facilitate your understanding of, interest in, and support for the use of data in program review. Second, we intend to illustrate how you can collect, interpret, and use data in the program review process. Finally, we desire to build institutional capacity to conduct program review. If our goals are to build capacity to conduct program review by facilitating your understanding of and interest in collecting, interpreting, and using data in the program review process, what will we cover here? How will we go about this task? And how will we proceed? We will first briefly set the backdrop for a need to use data in program review by describing the context and approach to doing so. Next, we will take you through a series of slides that will examine the purpose and place of data in program review and your role using data in the program review process. We will then review data sources and analyses commonly used in program review. This task includes a look at three related topics. These include frequently used data sources in program review, common types of analytical techniques to describe and assess programs, and typical ways to summarize and present data in program review reports. We will then spend some time looking at practical ways that you can make sense of and interpret data within the context of program review. Once we cover the more conceptual part of the presentation, we will spend a considerable amount of time on how to use data in program review reports, which includes a look at actual results tables, survey item reports, and report narratives. Our treatment of this topic is organized by the three principal administrative areas on campus: instructional programs, support services programs, and business services units. Within these three areas, we will provide tips on how to use three types of data: program data, institutional data, and primary data. Part 1 of the presentation examines the context of and approach to data use in program review, the purpose of data in program review, and your role in using data in the program review process. A great place to start our treatment of how to collect, interpret, and use data in program review is to look at the rationale for why there is a need to use data. First, we have to recognize that the college's accrediting commission, the Western Association of Schools and Colleges, requires that we review programs. In March 2003, the college was visited by an accreditation team that made a recommendation to the college to, quote, extend the new program review process recently revised for instruction to other non-instructional areas of the campus, with appropriate accommodations to address the unique nature of each service area." Unquote. Page 3, letter from Barbino, dated June 30th, 2008. In addition to this consideration, we now comply with the state's new accountability framework, Accountability Reporting for the Community Colleges, or ARC, which encourages us to examine how well our students learn. Finally, we also acknowledge the limited resources, both at the program and institutional levels, to support data collection and use in the program review process. Accordingly, in the Office of Research and Planning, we produce a standard set of institutional data for instructional programs. This effort will expand to support services units in the future. In addition, we make every accommodation to respond to customized or ad hoc requests from programs and units. We support programs and units undergoing program review, as well as on an ongoing basis to design, execute, and interpret primary data, predominantly surveys. We recognize that our largest single effort to date is support of programs and units in the program review process. Still, our resources are finite, so we rely on you to take as active a role as possible in this data collection, analysis, and utilization process for program review. Given this context, what has been our response locally to these forces? First, the Faculty Senate Committee on Instructional Program Review recently initiated a review of the process for instructional programs. Second, development of program review for support services and business services units is well underway. Third, a planning and resource allocation model has been developed and implemented. Finally, a revision of the annual unit planning process, including the development of an online annual planning tool, Planning Plus, has been developed. So why do we use data in the program review process? Why is a report devoid of data, insufficient and inconsistent with historical precedent, effective practices, and accreditation standards? First, data provides us with a point of reference, for example, a baseline measure of student success, and at a certain point in time, for example, a semester or academic year. Second, data allows us to understand a population, for example, a set of demographic characteristics about students in a program. Third, data provides us with empirical evidence, that is, evidence derived through systematic observation or experiment, which ultimately allows us to document what we do and how we can improve, as well as how we serve students or clients well. Data also provides us with the basis to plan, which is a process whereby units identify and develop strategic directions, goals, activities, and resource needs to meet the current and future needs of students or clients. Finally, using data provides us with the basis and rationale to support requests for resource needs. The bottom line with all of these efforts is to ensure that the observations, comments, and conclusions in your program review report are based on systematically or empirically derived data. Data derived in this way are frequently associated with a better sense of students or clients, better utilization of program resources, and program improvement. If you use data in the program review process, a question to ask yourself is, what is my role in collecting, analyzing, interpreting, and using these data? Our approach to your role in evaluation more broadly, and program review in particular, is grounded in a stakeholder-based participatory model, where you assume a lead role in the process and we support you with expertise in examining trends in program data, designing and administering survey instruments, and analyzing and interpreting survey data. Our approach is based partially in local practice and partially in our strong beliefs in working with you as the experts in your disciplines and fields. What does this approach mean for you? We assume that you have multiple roles in the process, including a role for data collection, for example, the collection of primary data like surveys, questionnaires, and focus groups. Data analysis, for example, analyzing trends in survey data presented in item reports. Data interpretation, for example, interpreting institutional data with historical and contextual information. Data utilization, for example, in the program review and annual unit planning processes. And finally, communication of interests and needs in support of data, which includes articulating your needs to the Office of Research and Planning. Clearly, you assume multiple roles in collecting, interpreting, and using data in the program review process. But what are your specific roles and tasks? And how do we support you during the process? In terms of the design for data collection and the actual activity of collecting data, we work with you to facilitate the development of your sampling design, if necessary, the construction of a survey instrument, focus group protocol, or interview protocol, and the coding of data for entry and analysis. In turn, you are responsible for the administration of surveys, focus groups, or interviews, and data entry for any primary data you collect, for example, from a survey. We should note that if you use a scannable survey form or an online survey, data entry is likely not necessary. In terms of analyzing data and results, as well as using results and findings in your program review report and beyond, we work with you to facilitate requests for statistical analyses, interpreting results, and identifying major findings. In turn, we support your efforts by performing statistical analysis of primary or institutional data and creating results tables if necessary. At this point, we have a sense of the roles and tasks that accompany data collection and use in the program review process. But how do we proceed from one step to the next in the process? Here, we present visually the cycle of data in program review. First, you can see that you must design a framework to collect, analyze, interpret, and use data in the report. This step includes asking what you want to accomplish in program review. This is also known as your purpose. Why you want to accomplish these objectives, that is, what is your rationale, and what type of questions you will use to do this. Next, you review what tools you need to answer these questions. That is, what methods will you use to answer the questions. Then, you collect data if you intend to use primary data, or access data if you intend to use program or institutional data. Once data are collected or accessed, you will need to settle on how you want to analyze results. Here, you will want to turn to your research questions for guidance. Finally, once results are available, you will need to interpret and use them in the program review report.